Hi there, Abby Lane. I'm just going to do a straightforward installation of Ubuntu 17. I'm using VirtualBox. I'm going to create a new virtual machine and I'm going to call this Ubuntu 17, which does not conflict with any of the other names that I already have. It's a Linux operating system. I'm choosing 64-bit version. For the memory, I'm going to, out of my 16 gig, I'm going to choose 4. I don't need to. I'm going to use this installation for quite a while. Create a virtual hard disk now. So I'm now going to allocate disk space on my hard disk for my Linux installation. I'm going to create it now rather than using an existing virtual hard disk file. And I'm not going to select this option to add it later. So my file location, where do I want to store this? I'm going to choose that because I like to have some control of where I place my files. So I'm going to put that into VirtualBox machines in here and save that. So now that will be stored here and I'll know where it is, so I can copy it onto an external drive and import it into other virtual machines, other virtual boxes. I'm going to increase the 8 GB allocated hard disk to something like 60. That's normally more than I need. Out of the hard disk file types, I don't really find much difference in this. I haven't managed to successfully import into VMware, so I'm just going to choose VirtualBox's own disk image format. I'm going to make this a fixed size because I have plenty of space. So I'll allow this to continue. So I have my virtual machine and I'll go into the settings and I'll also change some of these things. First of all, I'm happy with the naming. I would like to share the clipboard bidirectionally and I would like to drag and drop bidirectionally, which means anything I do in Linux I should be able to then make available to my Windows system, which is very useful. A small description. Start this because I don't want to set anything else. I'm going to leave everything else as the default. I'm going to choose the location of the ISO disk again, which is luckily I know where it already is. I've been there before, so it just came up. And this is going to boot into the live system, so I will just pause and let that happen. I will go and try and install this straight away. Download updates while installing is quite useful. Get it to install all the drivers straight away and install any graphics, Wi-Fi and so on all at the same time. So it'll build up a repository of links to the Ubuntu software. I don't really need to worry about this because there's nothing on the hard disk. Remember, it's the hard disk that's dedicated to the virtual machine, so don't worry. I don't want to encrypt it. I'm not really worried about anything else, so I could make the partitions myself. And if you were trying to mimic an existing system that you were developing for, then you would do this. But we're going to just keep it simple. So there's nothing to erase, but we'll choose that option anyway. Again, it's just giving you a message to say, are you sure? Yes. Just go ahead and do it because there's nothing on that new hard disk. And now choose the defaults. Again, it's told me I'm in the UK, which is great. Don't need to think about it. We'll scroll. I'm going to choose, student and the password of test. I wouldn't choose test if you were going to seriously use this system. I would like to use the password when I log in. By choosing student, I can then distribute this virtual machine to everyone and you don't have to log in with my username. So that's quite helpful. I'll pause this a few times so you don't have to sit there watching files being copied again. This might take another couple of minutes while it's configuring and doing various other downloads from the distribution of repositories, so it's retrieving 99 files. So as you can see at the bottom, it's doing various cleanup operations right now, just removing some of the installation files that are no longer needed. One of the good things about Ubuntu is there's a significant amount of support and a large community of developers. This is open source, remember, so the installation has been completed and I need to restart this machine, the virtual machine, in order to use it, which I'll do now. See how long that takes. You might as well see all of this. I don't want to remove the installation media, so I'll press enter and just indicate that I've done so because I haven't got a CD to remove. And let's see how long this one takes to start up. So it's now doing a cleanup without having booted the operating system. It was in bootstrap mode at that time. Hopefully that'll be quick and I'll be able to log in very soon, but obviously the first time I run it, it might take a little while. So for student, I can click, so I can now get in, but just see how quickly it runs on the 4 gig with the 60 gig of hard disk space. First time is always a bit slow, so what I'll do is I'll close it down and then reboot it. I'll do that now and see if it's any quicker. So I'm going to straight away shut down the system and restart it. That did a little system check at the beginning, which is where it's giving you the clean message. That's run a file system check, which if you had not shut the system down on a regular basis, it may have to do a significant amount of checking and fixing first before it can run the operating system. So have a look around. You've got your files, you've got the LibreOffice, which is a bit like Word. LibreOffice Calc is like Excel, and Impress is like the database access. I'm now going to open a terminal window so that I can do an update. So you can type into the search icon here and open the terminal window. I'm now going to run the superuser command to upgrade and update the system. apt-get upgrade, so that's the first command, which is upgrade, and the next one will be update, and you may need to run that several times like you would on a Windows system. Press yes to continue. The first upgrade takes quite a while. I wouldn't do this on a college Wi-Fi because it could take even longer. For this upgrade I was asked if I wanted to upgrade, and this is what it came up with, so I'm allowing that to happen. So this came up after running apt-get upgrade. I was asked this question: 5 install packages no longer supported, 38 packages to be removed, 248 to be installed, so that's going to take some time. I will pause this while that takes place. So after some time you are asked to remove the packages, allowed to confirm this, and then you just have to keep waiting. Once the upgrade has finished, you get this message and you can restart the system. And here it is. So I'm going to log in with my test user, sign in. As you can see, a slightly different interface. Need to look into this, but I think it's okay. Interface looks slightly different now. So we need to go to the bottom this time and run the terminal. And from there I will immediately run sudo apt-get update. I will run that a number of times in order to make sure my system is completely up to date. Probably don't need to do it yet, but each time I install packages, I just want to make sure that I have the very latest version before putting any other packages. For example, Apache, which I'm doing apt-get install Apache 2 just as a demonstration. I need to be root to do this, sudo su, and then try that again to install a web server. You should be a super user. And so now you can continue to watch the additional videos on installing the web server and Eclipse and Python.